The Godzilla franchise is the longest ongoing movie franchise, which means it has a ridiculous number of cool and powerful monsters. Today, TheBinger is ranking the most powerful monsters in the history of the franchise. Whether you call them kaiju, titans, or giant monsters, these are the 10 most powerful creatures in the Godzilla franchise. Number 10. Mothra. Mothra isn't the strongest kaiju, but she's easily one of the toughest. Although she can fire off energy beams from her antenna, reflect attacks, and paralyze foes with her scales, and stab enemies with her poisonous stingers, most of the time she can't measure up to the other kaiju. However, her immortality makes up for her weaker firepower. Every time a Mothra passes away or nears the end of its natural lifespan, an egg will hatch and produce one or more Mothra larvae. So, while other monsters can defeat Mothra, they can't keep her down for long. In fact, her larval form gives Mothra the chance to take down some foes she couldn't beat otherwise. As a larva, she can trap her enemies in silk webbing and drag them into the ocean and away from populated areas. It's also worth noting that Mothra is one of the few giant monsters who's friendly towards mankind. She often acts as a protector of humans and even communicates with them through those physically connected to her. This allows Mothra to coordinate attacks with humans to take down kaiju she couldn't handle by herself. So while Mothra isn't supremely powerful on her own, her support abilities make her a vital asset to humanity and other titans working to take down an evil monster. Number 9. Rodan. Rodan has a fairly underwhelming design by giant monster standards. After all, the creature is pretty much a giant pterodactyl. But Rodan is still incredibly powerful. Rodan's main method of attack is its razor-sharp claws, but it can also fire off intense blasts of heat and fiery energy. Rodan can also use its wings and incredible flight speed to create shockwaves and powerful gusts of wind, as well as easily dodge enemy attacks. Rodan's incredible durability is also worth noting. This kaiju passively absorbs radiation, which makes it immune to nuclear attacks like Godzilla's atomic breath. It's also able to shrug off attacks from the likes of King Ghidorah and absorb energy from nearby life forms to heal itself. So while Rodan isn't functionally immortal like Mothra, it can fight longer and take more damage than most other kaiju. Rodan would be much higher on this list if it had more offensive abilities. However, even in its Fire Rodan form, the flying monster just can't dish out as much damage as many of its peers. Still though, Rodan is a powerful ally, and it makes sense that Mothra would enlist Rodan's help in battling cosmic threats like the otherworldly King Ghidorah. Number 8. King Kong. Not only is King Kong the strongest of the Titans, he's also the oldest giant monster, having appeared in his own movie in 1933. Worshipped as a god on Skull Island, King Kong is a massive ape who can hold his own against all manner of kaiju, even if he's a rather unconventional fighter when compared to the other popular giant monsters. Unlike other Titans who are an amalgamation of various animals or more overtly monstrous, King Kong is pretty much just a giant gorilla. He can't shoot energy beams, fly, or grow stronger from eating nuclear waste. He makes up for his lack of special abilities, though, by being one of the smartest and most agile kaiju on this list. King Kong has a level of intelligence and problem-solving ability that's on par with most real-life apes. This means he's able to use tools in battle and exploit the weaknesses of monsters he's fighting against. King Kong is also shown to have the dexterity of an ape, while most other titans are depicted as lumbering monstrosities. King Kong is a pretty powerful kaiju, and was even able to battle Godzilla to a standstill in the 1962 King Kong vs. Godzilla film. Although it's unlikely that the more modern versions of the characters could match each other in a fair fight without Kong getting a bit of outside help. Number 7. MechaGodzilla. To date, there have been 3 incarnations of MechaGodzilla in the mainline Godzilla franchise. The first 2 were made by aliens to defeat Godzilla so they could invade Earth, and the third was created by the United Nations to give humanity an edge over the king of the monsters. While each interpretation of MechaGodzilla is pretty powerful in their own right, they all fall short to the original Godzilla. Unlike other monsters on this list, MechaGodzilla primarily attacks with conventional and advanced weaponry. It uses missiles, grenades, and various kinds of lasers to battle its foes. The metal MechaGodzilla is made of is also some of the most durable material in the universe and is able to deflect most energy attacks. However, MechaGodzilla does have a number of critical weaknesses. Most of its attacks have a set number of uses or can only be used for a limited amount of time. MechaGodzilla also isn't able to defend itself against most close-range attacks. This means that if MechaGodzilla can't quickly defeat an enemy before it closes the gap between them, the giant robot is all but done for. MechaGodzilla is definitely one of the strongest weapons ever created by mankind or aliens, but it simply can't measure up against the very strongest of its fellow kaiju. Number 6. Gigan. Unlike the purely mechanical MechaGodzilla, Gigan is an alien dinosaur that was transformed into a cyborg by an alien empire. This explains his many unnatural appendages and his sadistic personality. Already a destructive force, aliens transformed him into a literal killing machine so they could more easily invade Earth. While Gigan can fly at incredible speed, most of his attacks center on the modifications made to his body. He can shoot laser beams, fire a flamethrower, and uses razor-sharp claws to deal with foes at any range. Additionally, his mechanical parts can be upgraded and swapped out to make him better equipped to deal with a specific opponent. Instead of claws, Gigan can equip buzzsaw arms and even don armor to make him a more viable threat in a particular battle. With that being said, though, his power and demeanor are pretty inconsistent across the Godzilla franchise and, as such, isn't always in top shape. However, his versatility in battle and potential savagery easily make him one of the strongest giant monsters we've seen to date. He's also nearly unbeatable in space, but sadly, not too many fights in the Godzilla universe happen off-world, so his best talent more or less goes to waste. Number 5. Hedorah. Tying into the franchise's original themes of mankind destroying themselves and the world around them, Hedorah is a monster composed of pollution. Consisting of smog, sludge, and various other harmful substances, Hedorah will possibly destroy the environment around it. While its largest form is a vaguely humanoid slime monster, Hedorah can break down into trillions of tadpole-like creatures and even a state where it can fly. Hedorah's entire body is acidic and can melt anything it comes into contact with. This means that physical attacks against it are almost useless, and it can also spray parts of its body to melt its enemies. It can also release sulfuric acid at will and trap people and monsters in landslides of dirt and sludge. While its giant eyes are one of the monster's only weak points, they can also fire powerful laser beams. As Hedorah is pretty much just a giant pile of sentient sludge, the only way to defeat it is to dry it out. Even if one bit of sludge remains damp, Hedorah is able to regenerate, but most kaiju do have some kind of attack that can generate heat. Hedorah definitely possesses a unique and substantial threat to most other giant monsters, but is brought down by its pretty exploitable weakness. Number 4. SpaceGodzilla. SpaceGodzilla came to be after unique space radiation mutated the original Godzilla's DNA. As such, SpaceGodzilla has similar design to the original monster, but with several unique features and new abilities. SpaceGodzilla is much bulkier than his Earthling counterpart, sporting a larger frame, lengthier tail, and giant crystals on his shoulders. The alien monster can create more of these crystals, and they act as a kind of power source for his many energy-based attacks. SpaceGodzilla releases an aura that interferes with any nearby electrical devices, and can fire a massive energy beam from its mouth. He can also fire off bolts of energy from his shoulder crystals, fly, and create crystal shields to deflect projectiles. SpaceGodzilla is also one of the few giant monsters capable of rapid regeneration. However, its bulk disguises its rather limited physical abilities and defenses. SpaceGodzilla's larger size and stubby arms make it difficult for the monster to grapple with foes in close-range battles. Additionally, the crystals on its shoulders are basically giant targets, and if they're destroyed, the alien is drastically weakened. SpaceGodzilla also relies pretty heavily on its regeneration abilities, and has a weaker hide that's prone to injury. So this monster is almost unbeatable when he's at his best, but another monster wearing him down even a little bit will lead to a one-sided victory. Number 3. King Ghidorah. King Ghidorah is Godzilla's arch-enemy and one of the few titans that rivals his status as king of the monsters. This golden, three-headed, armless dragon was originally an alien and the first monster Godzilla needed help to defeat. Ghidorah is a powerhouse of a monster with an array of devastating abilities. The dragon can shoot gravity beams out of its mouth, create hurricane-force winds with its wings, fire lightning from its wings, and protect itself by creating an energy shield. Ghidorah's necks are also extremely dexterous, and he's able to bite enemies with incredible force. King Ghidorah's only major weakness is that the scales on his neck are thinner than those on the rest of his body. This means that they're pretty susceptible to close and long-range attacks. Furthermore, if even one of Ghidorah's heads is torn off its body, the creature will perish. Outside of that, though, Ghidorah is almost invulnerable and one of the strongest kaiju in the franchise. His size, variety of attacks, and unconventional close-range combat make Ghidorah a challenging foe for every other monster. This Titan status as a king is much deserved, and he does stand, or rather slither, above most other monsters. Number 2. Destoroyah. Like most great villains, Destoroyah comes from Godzilla's origins. The oxygen destroyer bomb that defeated the original Godzilla also mutated a colony of microscopic crabs. This gave the crustaceans the ability to fuse together into numerous forms, with the most powerful being a giant winged monster with dinosaur-like features. Destoroyah was able to defeat Godzilla's son, Godzilla Jr., using its many powerful abilities. This kaiju can fire energy beams from its chest and mouth, create a laser sword from its horn, and absorb the energy of other living creatures. Additionally, Destoroyah can fire a ray of micro-oxygen that vaporizes any organic matter, or directly inject the devastating chemical into creatures using its extended secondary jaw. Destoroyah can easily take down just about any other giant monster, but does have one significant weakness. The micro-oxygen stored in its body fluctuates under extreme temperatures and will damage Destoroyah if pushed far enough. That means Destoroyah will almost certainly fall if exposed to extreme heat or cold for long enough. Although with the ability to obliterate any organic life form and shred anything inorganic, few creatures can stand against Destoroyah long enough to exploit this weakness. Number 1. Godzilla. Surprising absolutely no one, Godzilla is the true king of the monsters and the most powerful monster in his franchise. The ultimate titan has taken dozens of foes during his time in cinema and always emerged victorious, or drew things out to a stalemate. This is thanks to his wide range of impressive and destructive abilities. Godzilla's signature atomic breath attack is a concentrated plasma beam that can destroy nearly anything it comes into contact with. If Godzilla is overwhelmed, though, it can release its stored nuclear energy in a pulse that damages anything surrounding the Titan. Godzilla can also passively absorb radiation and other kinds of energy and use its teeth and claws to tear opponents apart. Godzilla is even able to fly by pointing his atomic breath at the ground, and is smart enough to learn and exploit his enemies' weaknesses. For all of his might, Godzilla is still susceptible to weapons and attacks that destroy organic matter and absorb radiation, though. Then again, Godzilla's recovery abilities are substantial enough that most attacks won't keep him down for long. There's a reason Godzilla is such an iconic monster. Out of all the giant monsters in film, his power is unmatched, and Godzilla is sure to emerge victorious in just about every battle he enters. What do you think of our ranking of the strongest monsters in the Godzilla franchise? Please let us know in the comments section down below. And be sure to like this video and subscribe to TheBinger, as both really help the channel to grow.